If you keep seeing the same problems in your business, it's not your business, it's you. Have you ever noticed in your business how the same problems keep reoccurring? And have you ever noticed in relationships how that happens as well? Whether it's your inter-relationship, your family of origin, or your relationship with your children. And it's fascinating working with business owners and leaders because so many times when they ask me to work with them, the statement is, can you just go and change the team? Can you just go and change things out there? And this is what happens often in business coaching and leadership coaching. We think if we shift the external world, we're going to create a different experience in the business and certainly internally. And to some extent, that's true. We can shift certain things, yet it's an and, not an or. If you shift the external world and shift the internal patterns, you will get sustainable change. Yet if you just shift the external world, it won't be sustainable. And this is how it works. What happens is that the external world, your business, your relationships, your relationship with money, your relationship with health, fundamentally are driven by internal patterns, internal drivers. We know that 90 to 95% of your day is based on your subconscious and unconscious mind. We also know that the fundamental programming that drives your subconscious mind was set up between the age of 0 to 7. This is the initial download. Think about the original operating system on the very first iPhone. And what happens is that we got this download. It's not good or bad. It's the operating system. And then, of course, we start to apply our business, grow our business, and we're trying to create a bigger business, create a different relationship with wealth, with time, with money, based on the old operating system. And unless you upgrade the operating system, unless you change that, the patterns won't change. Think about it. Think about in your personal life, certainly working with individuals who seem to attract the same drama in their intimate relationships. They leave a relationship and before you know it, they've created another relationship. Same stuff, different face. Again, so many people think if I change the person, if I change the team, if I change the business, it's all going to change. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. Again, you've got to change internally. And it's simpler than you think. Again, with the willingness to grow and learn as a leader, as a business owner, the tools I teach can help you notice the patterns. Once you notice and identify them, you have choice over them. Once you have choice, you can change them. And what occurs is you change internally, your business changes externally. Remember, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And I see this with businesses all the time. They come up with a new strategy, they come up with new tactics, they come up with new salesperson, a new Instagram program that's going to get them more clients. But they haven't changed their internal beliefs around money, around abundance or scarcity, around hustle or flow, around valuing themselves. If you don't upgrade those, nothing's going to change. The fundamental upgrade, the fundamental operating system, is moving from a place of the fear that I'm not good enough, I'm not valuable and lovable, just as I am, to love, that I am lovable and valuable. And if you make that fundamental shift, you'll start to notice any other limiting beliefs. Because patterns are driven by limiting beliefs, and limiting beliefs are the stories that you tell yourself subconsciously. Remember, you are the sum of your habits, and the habits are the sum of the stories you tell yourself. If you want to upgrade your operating system, upgrade your identity, you've got to understand, how can I change the story I'm telling myself? How can I change the limiting beliefs to empowering beliefs? How can I change my energetic field and my frequency and vibration to be the leader I want to be the business owner I want to be? And that's why it's so important to realize that fundamentally changing your operating system, change really occurs from the neck down. 80% of change occurs from the neck down. It's the embodiment. The neck up is conceptual change. It's important, yet it's not the whole puzzle. And so here are the 3 steps to changing the patterns, changing the beliefs. Firstly, it's about identifying what is the current limiting belief. What is the current pattern? And it's easy to do. All you need to do is look at the last month of your life and start to notice where you see reoccurring experiences. Not feeling heard and valued in the workplace. Not finding time to look after your health. Being triggered in your personal relationships or with your children. They're the patterns. Remember, life is the workshop. Life is the mirror. It's giving you information. Instead of getting defensive, instead of resisting and blaming, you take responsibility and just acknowledge. Acknowledgement is just to recognize what is so. It's not to judge it. It's not good or bad. It's just to acknowledge it. Oh, I'm really aware that I get triggered by my kids. This is what goes on for me. And to acknowledge it, you need to acknowledge the thought process, the beliefs, the feelings. Feel them. 90 seconds to feel a feeling. You need to feel those feelings, the energy and the behavior. Once you start to acknowledge the limiting belief, acknowledging that pattern with love, with tenderness, not with judgment and blame, you're doing the best you know how. Then the next step to belief changing is to choose an empowering belief. So if you have an unconscious belief around scarcity, around lack, around not enough money, that I'm not enough, that's going to show up in your relationship with money, cash flow, time. And so the empowering belief would be, I'm enough, there is enough, I am abundant. So choosing it intellectually, neck up, is important, yet you've got to embody it. So when you embody it, what would it feel like in my body and energetic system if I really valued myself, if I really was abundant, if I really believed there was enough? How would I behave? Often I see people, who don't feel they have enough time. One of the first shifts is to give your time generously. People who don't feel they have enough money, give some money away. Because when you act from giving, what you're saying is there's more than enough, I'm enough. And when you act from not giving, you're coming from scarcity and lack. So you start to feel into that new belief, that empowering belief, that new identity. You've acknowledged the limiting belief. You're embracing the empowering belief. And the third step is you've got to behave differently. You've got to start to behave as if the new belief is true. And this is where our identity really kicks in. You've really got to start being that leader, that abundant leader that values themselves. And the reason we behave is that you've heard the phrase, fake it till you make it, or act as if. And again, this isn't Pollyanna, this isn't the icing sugar on the cake. This is an embodied process where at times you might feel scared. You might feel lack, yet you've got to behave from abundance. It's a process. It's like any sort of training. You've got to start building the new muscle memory, start changing the wiring in your brain, start communicating differently with yourself. And what I know is if you commit to that and you're consistent with that, what occurs is you suddenly start to live the empowering belief. You suddenly start to be that leader. Because remember, everything is frequency and vibration. And your frequency and vibration from the limiting belief, from the old patterns, is creating your current experience. What's the new frequency and vibration to create a different experience? How would I feel? How would I act? What would I think? What would I say? And if you can upgrade that operating system, upgrade your frequency and vibration, and realize you're coming from wholeness, not lack, realize it's already available, then everything will shift. And that's how we shift patterns. That's how we create leadership and business in a different way. So to help you, I've summarized that teaching around belief changing into a very simple handout. And if you'd like it, please click the link below and it's yours to apply, and I'd love to hear your feedback.